The Paterson Eastside boys basketball team is scheduled to return to the court Thursday against Wayne Hills. The weather could have something to say about that, and so could the NJSIAA. Head coach Juan Griles and assistant coach Albert Maldonado were suspended this week after an NJ.com report alleged that up to 6 foreign-born players were allegedly living with Griles. Today, SNY contributor Adam Zagoria sat down with Maldonado for more on his side of the story.
Were you aware of this situation that Coach Griles reportedly had 6 players living with him in his house?
I was aware that Coach Griles had his godson with him, and he had guardianship of the other young man. Any other allegations or accusations, again, there's an ongoing investigation, and out of respect to that, I withhold the comment on that. That's more a question that's pretty much directed at Coach Griles.
What was your reaction when the story broke?
I was shocked. I know what Coach Griles is about. I know what I'm about. Without getting into too much detail, some of the allegations that I seen in that article stunned me, in my opinion. A little bit of sensationalism, but my initial reaction was shock.
Al, can you understand why people are concerned about the welfare of these kids?
Well, based on the story, yeah, on the surface, I'm not naive. Yeah, I understand it. But hopefully, when the investigation is all said and done, you know, we will all have answers.
How do these young men come to play for you at Eastside? 2
of them happen to be our godchildren. One happens to be the best friend of one of the aforementioned godchildren. The other players in question, I really don't have a comment on. That's a question that may be directed to Coach Griles, because I had really nothing to do with that. My godson, his mom is in Puerto Rico. In my opinion, it was just a situation of getting a young man out of a tough situation, and I pay the expenses here. I cover all the food. I've bought him clothing. I've bought him basketball gear, school gear. His mom does send money on a regular basis, and every last dime I give to that young man.
Based on what you've seen and read, do you think Coach Griles acted inappropriately here, or?
I reserve that comment for Coach Griles. Coach Griles, again, is a friend of mine. I know where his heart is. I can say that. I know he cares about the kids. I've seen it. But to make a comment as to what I think is ethical, unethical, or if he's doing something wrong or not, I reserve that comment. I really don't want to comment on that.
Do you feel it's unjust that you're involved in this situation?
It's a great question. Do I feel I'm unfairly lumped in? I have to honestly answer to you that I wouldn't be sitting here with my lawyer. I had mentioned to my lawyer, our stipend, or at least my stipend, the coaching stipend, ends at the end of February. I could have just walked away without maybe 2-3 weeks pay. But to borrow Herman Edwards' words, that last name on your back is something that's special. And I was telling Mr. Trella when I came here, one of the toughest calls that I've taken was from my father. And I don't want to disappoint him. And I know I didn't do anything wrong. And I apologize.
We are now joined by retired Superior Court Judge of New Jersey, Anthony J. Malachi. And, Your Honor, certainly a lot to process in this entire story, but let's just react to what we heard from Assistant Coach Albert Maldonado, former Assistant Coach Albert Maldonado. From what you've read and heard about the allegations and what we just heard from Mr. Maldonado, what's your biggest takeaway from that conversation?
Well, I think it was really more about what was not said than what was said. Some of the reports in the newspaper have indicated that a representative of the school recently, when confronted, said that the information that had been put out originally was wrong, and that 2 of the young individuals involved were actually under the guardianship of the coach, and 2 others were under the guardianship of Mr. Maldonado. Now, Mr. Maldonado said in that segment that you played that, in point of fact, he has the guardianship of 1 person, and it's his godchild from Puerto Rico. So I thought that was very interesting. Somewhere, someone's not getting their story straight.
Now this story has gone beyond basketball, certainly. What's next? Who takes over these allegations in the investigation now?
Well, the Department of Child Permanency and Protection is investigating right now. That's an agency that looks into matters involving children under 18 and whether or not they're abused or neglected. If, in fact, as the articles in the paper said, that some of these individuals were housed in a house and not being taken care of properly, there were complaints about food not being given, not being able to eat enough. One individual allegedly had to sleep outside at a Dunkin' Donuts one night, wasn't allowed in the house. If any of that is true, then if someone assumed the responsibility for the care and then didn't provide the care, they could be in some serious trouble, not only with the division, but also criminally.
Now, let's also talk about the fact that some of these players are suspected to be from Nigeria. That's obviously a whole different ball of wax than coming from Puerto Rico. How much trouble could the head coach, Juan Griles, be facing if he cannot provide documentation for being a guardian for those players?
Well, again, it seems that he's at this point denying that they were in fact in his household. If the division, through their investigation, can show that any of the allegations are substantiated, the logical step, in my experience, would be that they would then forward that information on to the Passaic prosecutor's office, who would conduct an investigation.